Camera flashes exploded like fireworks around Adrian's face. "How does it feel to score perfect marks on the National Academic Excellence exam?" a reporter shouted, shoving a microphone toward him. Adrian stood frozen on the marble steps of Preston Elite Academy, his hands shaking slightly as dozens of voices competed for his attention. Behind him, his father's security team formed a wall of dark suits and blank expressions. I just studied hard," Adrian said quietly, but even he knew that wasn't the full truth. A woman's voice cut through the noise. "Your father claims he hired the best tutors in the country. Is that what changed everything?" Adrian's jaw tightened. His eyes scanned the crowd until they landed on a figure, standing far back near the school service entrance. A woman in a gray uniform, holding a mop bucket, watching with a small, knowing smile. "No," Adrian said firmly. "The person who helped me isn't any of those tutors." The reporters leaned in closer. "Then who is it?" Adrian opened his mouth to answer, but his father's hand landed heavy on his shoulder. "We'll take questions inside." "Thank you." The security team pushed forward, and Adrian was swept away, but not before he looked back one more time. Ms. Mara gave him a slight nod, then turned and walked back into the building where nobody ever noticed her. 3 months earlier, Adrian stared at the red F marked across his physics exam, the 5th failing grade this month. His hands trembled as he crumpled the paper and shoved it deep into his backpack. Mr. Chen, his physics teacher, Mr. Harrison, called out as students filed out of the classroom. "A word, please." Adrian's stomach dropped. He approached the desk slowly, keeping his eyes on the floor. "This is becoming a pattern," Mr. Harrison said, tapping his pen against a gray book. "You have access to resources most students can only dream about. Private tutors. The latest educational technology. Your father literally owns a tech company. So help me understand why you're failing." "I'm trying," Adrian whispered. "Are you?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're coasting on your father's name and expecting everything to be handed to you." The words hit like punches. Adrian felt his face burn hot. He wanted to scream that he studied for hours every night until his eyes hurt and his head pounded, that he read the same paragraph 10 times and still couldn't make sense of it, that numbers and formulas seemed to rearrange themselves on the page like they were mocking him. But what was the point? Nobody believed him anyway. "I'll try harder," Adrian said, because that's what they all wanted to hear. Mr. Harrison sighed. "Your father is paying good money for your education here. Don't waste it." Adrian left the classroom with his shoulders hunched, the weight of failure pressing down on him like a physical thing. In the hallway, he passed groups of students laughing and talking. Nobody looked at him. Or maybe they did, but only to whisper behind their hands about the billionaire's son who couldn't even pass a basic test. That evening, Adrian sat alone in his father's mansion, surrounded by silence that felt louder than any noise. The house was massive, with 23 rooms and more bathrooms than people living there. His father was on a business call in his office, same as every night. The housekeepers moved like ghosts through the halls, never making eye contact. Adrian pulled out his physics textbook and tried to focus. The words blurred together. His tutor, Dr. Matthews, a man with 3 PhDs who charged $500 an hour, had gone through this chapter twice already. Adrian still didn't understand it. He slammed the book shut and pressed his palms against his eyes until he saw stars. "Why am I so stupid?" he whispered to the empty room. His phone buzzed. A text from his father, meeting running late. "Eat without me. Study hard." Adrian laughed bitterly. Study hard. As if he wasn't already trying. As if effort alone could fix whatever was broken inside his brain. The next morning, Adrian failed his math quiz. During lunch, he overheard 2 tutors talking in the hallway. "The Chun kid is hopeless," one said. "I've worked with struggling students before, but this is different. It's like the information goes in one ear and vanishes." His father keeps asking for progress reports. What am I supposed to say? That his son might actually be unteachable? Adrian turned and walked away before they could see him standing there. His chest felt tight, like someone was squeezing all the air out of his lungs. That afternoon, his father called him into the office. Adrian knew what was coming before he even sat down. "Your progress reports came in," his father said, not looking up from his computer screen. "They're not good, Adrian. In fact, they're terrible." "I know. I'm sorry." "Sorry doesn't cut it." His father finally looked at him, and Adrian saw disappointment carved into every line of his face. "I've given you every advantage. The best school, the best tutors, the best technology, and you're still failing. Do you know how that makes me look?" Adrian's fingernails dug into his palms. "This isn't about you. Everything is about image, son. Everything. When people see my son failing, they question my judgment. They wonder if I'm as sharp as they thought. It reflects on the business, on our family name. Maybe I'm just not smart enough for your standards," Adrian said quietly. His father's expression hardened. "You will bring your grades up by the end of the semester, or I'm cutting your allowance, your car privileges, and your access to everything except school and this house. Do you understand? Adrian nodded, feeling something inside him crack a little more. That night, Adrian couldn't sleep. At 11 p.m., he grabbed his backpack and snuck out to his car. He drove back to Preston Elite Academy, using his student key card to enter through the side door. The empty school felt different at night, less threatening somehow. He made his way to an empty classroom and sat in the dark, surrounded by textbooks and notes that might as well have been written in a foreign language. Adrian didn't hear the door open. He was too busy staring at his physics homework, tears of frustration blurring the equations into meaningless shapes. You know, the building closes at midnight. Adrian's head snapped up. A black woman stood in the doorway, wearing a gray janitor's uniform with Mara stitched on the pocket. She held a mop in one hand and looked at him with steady, calm eyes that didn't hold judgment or pity. "I'll leave," Adrian said quickly, wiping his face with his sleeve. "I just needed somewhere quiet." "Quiet's good for thinking," Ms. Mara said. She wheeled her cleaning cart into the room and started wiping down desks. "But crying alone in the dark? That's not thinking. That's drowning." Adrian said nothing. He started shoving papers into his backpack. "Physics?" Ms. Mara asked, glancing at the textbook. "Yeah, not that it matters. I'm failing anyway." "Why?" The question was so simple, so direct, that Adrian actually stopped and looked at her. "Because I'm stupid." Ms. Mara made a sound that was almost a laugh. "Boy, I've been cleaning this school for 12 years. I've seen stupid. You're not it. You don't know me. I know you're here at 11 o'clock at night, trying to understand something, instead of giving up. Stupid people don't do that." She continued cleaning, her movements efficient and practiced. "What part don't you understand?" "All of it. The formulas, the concepts, everything. It's like my brain can't hold on to the information. I read something 10 times and it's gone the next day." Ms. Mara stopped cleaning and looked at him thoughtfully. "Does it feel like the words move around on the page? Like you understand something 1 minute and then it slips away?" Adrian stared at her. "How did you know that?" "Because I had the same problem when I was your age." Ms. Mara pulled out a chair and sat down across from him. Nobody had a fancy name for it back then. They just said I was slow, that I wasn't trying hard enough. Sound familiar? Adrian nodded slowly. "But I wasn't slow. My brain just processed information differently. It took me years to figure out how to work with it, instead of against it." She reached over and tapped his physics book. "What's this chapter about?" "Wave, motion, and frequency." "Explain it to me like I'm 5 years old." Adrian opened his mouth, then closed it. I can't. That's the problem." "Then you're trying to memorize instead of understand. That's like trying to remember every brick in a building instead of seeing the whole structure." Ms. Mara stood up and went to whiteboard. "Let me show you something." She drew a simple wave pattern. "Forget the formulas for a second. Tell me what you see." "A wave." "Good. Now, have you ever been to the ocean?" "Yeah, a few times." "When a wave comes in, what happens?" Adrian thought about it. "It rises up, crashes down, and pulls back." "Exactly. Rise, crash, pull. That's 3 parts to one wave, right? Now look at this formula." She wrote it out. "See these 3 parts? They match what the wave does. This number here, that's how high it rises. This one, how fast it crashes. This one, how far it pulls back." Something clicked in Adrian's mind. "Wait, so the formula is just describing what's already happening. Now you're getting it. The math isn't some separate thing. It's just a way to measure and predict what you can already see and understand." Ms. Mara drew more examples, connecting each formula to something real and physical. For the first time in months, Adrian felt like he could breathe. Why didn't any of my tutors explain it like this? Because they learned it differently. Their brains grab onto abstract concepts easy. Yours needs to see the pattern first, the real thing, then connect it to the symbols. Neither way is wrong. They're just different paths to the same place. They worked together for another hour. Ms. Mara broke down each concept into patterns Adrian could visualize. She used the cleaning cartwheels to explain rotation, the mop bucket to demonstrate volume and displacement, the fluorescent lights to show wave frequency. "How do you know all this?" Adrian asked. Ms. Mara smiled. "When you spend years figuring out how to teach yourself, you get creative. I never went to college. Couldn't afford it. But I read every book I could get my hands on from the library. Taught myself math, science, history. I had to invent my own ways to make it stick." "That's incredible. That's survival." Ms. Mara looked at him seriously. "You got something I didn't have. Resources, time, support. But you also need something those fancy tutors can't give you. You need to understand how your own mind works. Once you figure that out, nothing can stop you." Adrian felt something unfamiliar stirring in his chest. Hope, maybe. Or possibility. "Can you help me again?" he asked quietly. Ms. Mara studied him for a moment. I'm here every night from 9 to midnight, Monday through Friday. If you want to come back, I'll be cleaning. And if I happen to see you struggle with homework, well, I might have a few minutes to spare. Why would you do that? Because somebody should have done it for me when I was struggling. Because you deserve a chance to succeed. And because I see potential in you that you don't see in yourself yet. She stood up and gathered her cleaning supplies. Now go home and get some sleep. Tomorrow, try looking at your schoolwork the way we did tonight. Find the patterns first. Make them real in your head. Then add the formulas. Adrian left the school that night feeling lighter than he had in months. When he got home, he pulled out his physics homework and tried Ms. Mara's method. He imagined each concept as something physical, something he could touch and see. The formulas stopped looking like random symbols and started making sense. The next day, Mr. Harrison gave a pop quiz. Adrian stared at the first question about wave motion and velocity. Instead of panicking, he closed his eyes and pictured an ocean wave rising and crashing. Adrian wrote down the answer, checking it twice. When Mr. Harrison handed back the quizzes 2 days later, there was a B+ marked at the top of Adrian's paper. Adrian stared at it like it might disappear. A B+, not an F, not a D, an actual passing grade that wasn't even close to failing. Mr. Chen, nice improvement, Mr. Harrison said, surprise clear in his voice. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. That night, Adrian rushed back to the school. He found Ms. Mara in the science wing, emptying trash bins. I got a B+, he said, practically bouncing on his feet. Ms. Mara's face broke into a wide smile. I knew you could do it. How'd it feel? Like I could actually breathe. Like maybe I'm not broken after all. You were never broken, Adrian. You just needed someone to show you your own instruction manual. Over the next month, they met almost every night. Ms. Mara taught Adrian how to turn abstract concepts into concrete images. Math became building blocks. Chemistry became cooking recipes. History became stories with characters and motivations instead of just dates to memorize. Adrian's grades climbed steadily. B's turned into B+S. Then, yes, his tutors were confused but took credit anyway. Dr. Matthews told Adrian's father that his innovative teaching methods were finally breaking through. Adrian bit his tongue and said nothing. His father noticed a change at dinner one evening, one of the rare times they actually ate together. Your teacher sent updated progress reports, his father said, looking at his phone. Significant improvement across all subjects. I'm impressed. Thanks, Adrian said quietly. Dr. Matthews says you're finally applying yourself. I'm glad the investment in quality tutors is paying off. Adrian's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Actually, it wasn't Dr. Matthews. His father looked up. What do you mean? The tutors didn't help me. Someone else did. Who? Did we hire another academic consultant I'm not aware of? Adrian took a deep breath. Ms. Mara, she's a janitor at school. The silence that followed was thick and uncomfortable. His father's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief to something that looked like anger. The janitor, his father repeated slowly. You're telling me that a janitor is teaching you what 3 PhD holders couldn't? She understands how I learn. She gets it in a way they never did. His father set down his phone with deliberate care. Adrian, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but I pay those tutors thousands of dollars specifically because they're experts. A janitor, no matter how well-meaning, doesn't have the qualifications to. She helped me when nobody else could. Adrian's voice rose, surprising both of them. All those expensive tutors with their fancy degrees just made me feel stupid. Ms. Mara actually listened. She actually saw me. This is ridiculous. You're embarrassing yourself and this family by suggesting. I'm not suggesting anything. I'm telling you the truth. If you don't believe me, come meet her. His father's jaw tightened. I don't have time for this nonsense. Then you don't have time for me either. Adrian stood up and left the table, his heart pounding. 2 weeks later, Adrian scored a 98% on his physics final. Mr. Harrison announced it in front of the entire class. And for the first time, the whispers weren't about failure. They were about shock and disbelief. After class, Dr. Matthews cornered Adrian in the hallway. Your father wants a meeting to discuss your remarkable turnaround. He's considering writing a testimonial for my services. Adrian felt sick. You didn't do anything. Dr. Matthews smiled coldly. I've been your tutor for 6 months. That's what the records show. That's what matters. That evening, Adrian didn't go to find Ms. Mara. Instead, he went to his father's office and stood in the doorway until his father acknowledged him. What is it, Adrian? I have a conference call in 10 minutes. Cancel it. You need to meet someone. Adrian, please, Dad. This is important. More important than any business call. Something in Adrian's voice must have registered because his father actually closed his laptop. Fine. Who am I meeting? 20 minutes later, they stood outside Preston Elite Academy. Adrian led his father through the quiet halls to the science wing, where Ms. Mara was cleaning. She looked up as they approached, her expression calm but wary. "Ms. Mara, this is my father. Dad, this is Ms. Mara, the person who actually helped me." His father looked uncomfortable, like he wasn't sure how to stand or where to put his hands. "Ms. Mara, my son has told me that you've been helping him with his studies. I've been showing him different ways to learn," Ms. Mara said simply. "He's a smart young man. He just needed someone to work with his learning style instead of against it." "And what qualifies you to assess his learning style?" Adrian tensed, but Ms. Mara didn't flinch. "Personal experience, Mr. Chen. I struggle the same way Adrian does. I have an undiagnosed learning disorder that made traditional education almost impossible for me. I developed my own methods to survive. Those same methods work for your son." "A learning disorder?" His father's voice softened slightly. "Adrian, you never mentioned. I tried to tell people. Nobody listened. They said I was lazy or entitled or not trying hard enough." Adrian's voice cracked. Ms. Mara listened. She saw what everyone else missed. His father was quiet for a long moment, looking between Adrian and Ms. Mara. Finally, he said, Show me how you teach him." Ms. Mara spent the next 30 minutes demonstrating her methods. She explained how Adrian's brain processed information differently, how he needed to visualize concepts before attaching formulas to them. She showed the pattern recognition techniques she developed, the way she connected abstract ideas to concrete reality. Adrian watched his father's expression change from skepticism to understanding to something that might have been shame. "Why didn't the tutors identify this?" his father asked quietly. "Because they were teaching the way they learn, not the way Adrian learns," Ms. Mara said. "It's not about intelligence. It's about finding the right key for the right lock." His father nodded slowly. Then he did something Adrian hadn't seen in years. He turned to Adrian with genuine emotion in his eyes. "I'm sorry, son. I should have listened to you. I should have seen what you were going through instead of just seeing the grades." Adrian felt tears building but fought them back. "I just wanted you to believe me. I believe you now." His father looked at Ms. Mara. "Thank you for seeing my son when I was too blind to. I'd like to discuss how we can integrate your methods into the school's learning support program. Students like Adrian deserve better than what the current system offers." Ms. Mara smiled. "I'd be honored to help, but under one condition." "Name it." "Adrian gets the credit he deserves. He's the one who put in the work. He's the one who kept trying when everyone told him he couldn't. I just showed him the door. He walked through it himself." 3 months after that conversation, Adrian stood on the steps of Preston Elite Academy. Cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions about his perfect score on the National Academic Excellence exam. Behind the crowd, Ms. Mara stood by the service entrance with her mop bucket, watching quietly. Adrian caught her eye and smiled. She nodded once, pride written all over her face, then turned and went back inside. Later that evening, Adrian found her in the science wing. "You should have been up there with me," he said. "You should have gotten the credit." Ms. Mara shook her head. "That was your moment, baby. Your success. I don't need cameras and reporters. I just need to know that what I learned the hard way helped someone else avoid the same pain. You changed my life." "No, Adrian. I just reminded you that you were capable all along. You changed your own life." She squeezed his shoulder. "Now go change someone else's. That's how this works. We lift as we climb." Adrian nodded, understanding settling deep in his chest. The school did integrate Ms. Mara's methods into their learning support program. His father funded a whole department dedicated to alternative learning approaches. And Adrian? He never forgot that the person who saved him was the one everyone walked past every day without seeing. Because sometimes the most important people aren't the ones with the biggest titles or the fanciest degrees. Sometimes they're the ones holding mop buckets, seeing what everyone else is too busy to notice. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because everyone deserves to be seen. Everyone deserves a chance to succeed. And everyone has something valuable to teach if we're willing to listen.